everybody. Dean Castronovo from Journey and Revolution Saints, and you are listening to Trent on Thunder Underground. Crank it up, people.
Welcome to episode 375 of the Thunder Underground podcast. Trent here as always, and as you heard right there in that opening, we have got a great one this week. Deen Castronovo is here on the podcast. The drummer of Journey, the drummer and vocalist of Revolution Saints, a member of Bad English. The list is great and long of this man's discography, this man's studio work, the bands he's been a part of. I'm a huge fan of Deen and a good majority of everything he's ever done. So we're going to talk to him very shortly for a great conversation that is right under an hour long. So can't wait to jump into this one. But before we do, I need to let you know who we're sponsored by. That would be DEB Concerts, concert promoter based right here in the Tulsa area, who has brought tons of great acts to our area here in downtown Tulsa. Bands like Saxon, Last in Line, LA Guns, Tom Kiefer, Buck Cherry, Lita Ford, even stuff to the arena down here at the BOK Center in Tulsa, like Lamb of God, Megadeth, Ice Cube, Snoop D-O-double-G, and so much more. DEB Concerts also books the Roadhouse stage at Rocklahoma every year. This year, of course, is no exception. The lineup for Rocklahoma was announced a few weeks ago, and the DEB-sponsored Roadhouse stage features 4 nights, 4 days of action, starting with the Thursday night pre-party, which takes place on the Roadhouse stage. That will be headlined by Warrant. A couple members of that band have been on this podcast before. The other 3 nights will be headlined by Buck Cherry. Josh Todd has been on this podcast before. Kicks, one of the greatest live bands you'll ever see. And every member of that band has been on this podcast. All at once, of course, but... And finally, Skid Row. No one from Skid Row has been on this podcast, unfortunately, but I'm guessing that will change one day. LA Guns will also be on that stage as well. Phil Lewis and Tracy Guns have been on this podcast before, and again very soon. So, enough with saying who's been on this podcast. DEB Concerts on Twitter and Facebook is at DEB Concerts. Follow them on the socials so you don't miss any updates on upcoming stuff. We, of course, keep you updated here as well. And we appreciate DEB Concerts for everything they do. Sunset Tattoo, a tattoo shop located in Midtown Tulsa. Their tattoos are done good and proper. They're state licensed, and they are mother approved. 25 plus years of experience from Jason Thompson, and you can see a collection of the Sunset Tattoo work on their socials. Facebook and Instagram are both Sunset Tattoo Tulsa. Tons of great styles that they specialize in. I've had tattoo work done by Jason Thompson. I love it. I know many other people that have as well, and I'm sure I will again here in the near future, and hopefully you will too. So if you give Sunset Tattoo a call or a message, you can set up a time to go in there, sit down and talk about what work you're looking to have done. They also accept walk-ins, so drop by Sunset Tattoo and tell them you heard about them on Thunder Underground. Finally, we've got Med Farm, a dispensary located in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, 24683 East Highway 51. They're right off the highway, right past Oneida Road. Can't miss them. They've got a drive-thru, which is a great convenient thing that many dispensaries don't have. If you call or text your order ahead of time, you can zip right through that drive-thru and be on your way. You can also check out their large selection at leafly.com. You can go in anytime and talk to one of their many knowledgeable staff. They are cannabis with a cause. That means 30% of their proceeds are going to build no-kill animal shelters. Such an amazing cause. Nearly a third of their proceeds at all times are going to help out animals and build no-kill animal shelters. Also, follow them on their socials. MedFarm, that's PHARM on Facebook. MedFarmOK on Instagram. The website is medfarmok.com. And if you mention Thunder Underground, they'll give you 10% off your first order. You can't beat that. So drop by MedFarm and tell them you heard about them on Thunder Underground. All right, so just jumping in to the Deen Castronovo talk here, because, like I said, this interview with Deen is almost an hour long. Right on, like, 58 minutes. Not that you care, but, it's great. A lot of times, you do these interviews, and especially in-person ones, when a band's touring, it's hard to get, every once in a while you get a long one. And on Zoom, it's a little bit easier, but sometimes these guys are doing other interviews and they've got schedules to work with. But Deen had a day off from the Journey tour and sat down and talked to me, and we talked about all kinds of stuff. I'm talking about Deen was a member of Bad English. They released 2 albums. John Waite was on this podcast last year. We talked a little bit about it, but Deen goes into, a little bit more, a little bit detail about his time and his thoughts on it. And that was the beginning of his journey working, look at that, pun intended, the beginning of his journey working with Neil Schon, who brought him in to audition for Bad English. And from that point on, he went and joined Hardline with Neil Schon as well. Jonathan Cain from Journey was also in both of those bands. And man, if they were in Hardline for the first album, and that song, Hot Cherie, their cover of that song is just fucking amazing. It's one of the best songs of the early 90s, in my opinion. Doesn't get the love I think that it should, like as an all-time classic, but that's just me. But great stuff there in the early days. Then Deen joined Ozzy Osbourne and he played the drums on Osmosis, which is an album that I know kind of, people were divisive about back then. I don't know where people stand these days. I haven't really talked to people about Osmosis recently, but I absolutely loved that album when it came out. I know it's kind of ballad heavy, but it's just, it's a cool album I go back to a lot. Got to see that tour a couple times. Deen was with Ozzy, I think, for a couple years around that point. And then, as he talks about here in the interview, not long after that is when he ended up joining Journey in like 98. And he was there from 98 to about 2015, I think. And then he came back in 2021. So the better part of the last 25 years, he's been there close to 20 years with Journey. But, just random stuff we talk about. He was also a part of the band GZR. If that is something that you're not familiar with and you like metal, you need to dig back and check that out. Back in the mid-90s, Geezer Butler put this band together with Burton C. Bell from Fear Factory. And right there alone, you got the vocalist of Fear Factory and Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath, the bassist of Black Sabbath and the writer from Black Sabbath. One of the all-time great musicians in history, in my opinion. And then they brought in Deen to play the drums. And then that leads into something else I asked about. Deen played on a Fear Factory song not that long ago, a few years ago. So there's that connection again. He played some on, I noticed like when I was just digging through his credits, just seeing if there's something I didn't know about. He played some on Hole's album Celebrity Skin, which I'm also a big fan of. He's played with Steve Vai, Tony McAlpine, Paul Rogers, some of the greatest musicians of all time. I just listed those guys, the guys from Journey, everybody that I've talked about so far, but I haven't mentioned the fact that now he's had a band for the past, I think 8 years or so, maybe 6, 7, 8 years. Revolution Saints put out, or maybe it's almost 10 years now. I should have looked up the year the first album came out. But Revolution Saints formed with Deen Castronovo, Doug Aldrich on guitar, and Jack Blades on bass. And you would think Jack Blades is in a band, he's the vocalist. No, Deen Castronovo is the vocalist. Amazing voice from this guy. He's been doing backups his whole career, and if you've ever paid attention to Journey, if you've seen him live, if you've listened to the more modern studio albums from the past 20 years, Deen sang 3 or 4 songs on a couple of the Journey studio albums. And live, Deen always sings Mother Father. I believe he sings Still They Ride sometimes, a couple other songs that'll come here and there. And he's been doing that since he joined the band in 98. And this guy has an exceptional voice. You have to, obviously, if you're singing a Journey song with Steve Perry, one of the greatest vocalists of all time, and that's what Deen goes into. But bringing us back to Revolution Saints, they released 3 albums. Fantastic melodic rock in the vein of Journey. And then there was a bit of a hiatus, and then now they're back with a new album coming out here next week. Actually, 2 weeks, I believe. It's April 21st. And coming back, of course, we still got Deen on drums and vocals. But now he's got Jeff Pilson on bass and Joel Hoekstra on guitar. 2 more phenomenal musicians. And this album's a little bit heavier, a little bit more... I mean, it's not heavy in a heavy metal sense. It's still melodic rock. But that's something that Deen goes into, why it's kind of shifted that way. It's still got, amazing choruses, amazing guitar work, of course, amazing drums. It's just a great band, a great project that has been going on for a while, that if you haven't heard and you're into anything like Journey or AOR or melodic rock, this band does it at the highest level. So I'm really hoping to see them, play some shows. That's something else that Deen talks about, the possibility of that. But so much here to talk about, so let's just jump into it. Here is Deen Castronovo of Revolution Saints and Journey.
The main topic at hand, which is Revolution Saints, Eagle Flight, is about to come out. I mean, you've already released 4 singles. Yeah. Obviously, there's band change, but how would you describe the progression of this from the first 3 albums to someone?
Well, everybody uses the cliche, it's heavier. Oh, it's heavier. Yeah. Well, I got to say, it's definitely a darker, it's not so Journey-esque, if you know what I mean. Where the last records were a little bit more pop rock, a little bit more like Journey, Foreigner, that kind of stuff. This kind of went on a little darker, heavier turn, which is I love personally, because I can get away from trying to be Steve Perry. I mean, I'm obviously I got that sound, and I think with this record I get to sing more like me. I'm actually doing what I feel was more me, and not trying to hit the astronomically high notes and all the Perryisms and stuff that, I mean, Steve Perry was my favorite singer, so I can't help but be like that. But, just being more me, and I think with Jeff and Joel, it brings a little grittier, a little heavier vibe to the stuff. I like it a lot, bro. I really do, because I don't have to be, I'm already in Journey. I don't want to do another Journey band, you know what I mean? So
right.
It's kind of nice to just kind of do a departure and try to find me as a vocalist, because I'm new at this. I've been playing drums for years, and the lead singer thing, maybe 10 years now I've been doing it, 10 or maybe 15 years, not very long. So I'm learning still a ton. And I think for me, it's a great departure, because now I don't have to do, we don't sound like, well, this is a great, alternative to Journey. If you love Journey, you'll love this. It's like, this is completely different, which I really love. I really love it.
Speaking on that, was it a concerted effort at the beginning to kind of make it similar to Journey, or was that just kind of the way that happened, and like with the first album?
I think the way Serafino saw it is because Journey's like Serafino from Frontiers. That's his favorite band. He loves Journey, okay. And he come to Journey shows when we were in Europe and stuff, and that's when he approached me to do a solo record. Because he loved my voice, because I was very similar to Perry. So he kind of built the band around that sound, with Doug, who's an amazing player, and Jack being a Night Ranger. I mean, the pop sensibility was there, but still had some rock, had some gritty edge to it. But it was more like, well, let's do, Deen sounds great doing this kind of stuff. So let's let's just mold stuff around him. And it worked out great. And I loved all the records I did with Doug and Jack. I mean, they're incredible records and such amazing players and great people. But it was refreshing to hear the songs that were written and going, yeah, man, I can sink my teeth into this and not have to do the my whoa stuff. You know what I mean? I can just do me and try to find me. So yeah, it was. I think it was molded that way, but it's morphed into this other thing that I really enjoy. I really love it.
With the band having kind of been an established thing with 3 albums, was it daunting to kind of move forward with 2 other guys, no matter how great musicians they were?
Well, no, I think that everybody the schedules, man. Everybody's schedules are so busy. Doug's got his projects and Jack's got Night Ranger and me now with Journey. And, it's like, how do we get this together? And we always wanted to play live, but never could find the time to play live. And one show we did, one little show and one little thing. It's like a little acoustic thing at Frontiers Fest. But with this band, I was talking to Jeff and Joel, and I think it was like, well, if now that we got new guys and let's see how schedules work, but I want to do this. I got enough time to, Journey maybe works 5 months out of the year. So I got another, 6 months to 7 months to just do other things. So we are definitely going to do shows. And I think that's what was the case with Doug and Jack. We just never had the time, man. We just didn't have it. So for us, this new band, it wasn't like, well, let's get new guys. I mean, Doug and Jack were like, well, we're just too busy. And at me, I was like, well, God, I'm busy too. I mean, I got Journey and stuff, but I'll fit it in. So this new record was like put into place right after I got off the 2021. We did about 8 shows in 2021 in a residency with Journey. And I had about, I think, 20 days to do the records. So I did 2 of the new records. I did Eagle Flight, and there's another one already in the can, ready to go. We did all those records in 20 days. Yeah, so I did my drum tracks in like both records, 23 songs, and did the tracks in 6 days, all drum tracks in 6 days, and then did the vocals on the first record, got that one done, and then just finished the vocals. It was in January. Just finished the vocals for this other one that's after Eagle Flight. That'll be out after Eagle Flight. So those songs are done. And it was nice to just go in and just plow that stuff. But that was the time that we had. It was like, well, let's just plow. Let's just go in. And I ended up doing the vocals on the second one and went right on the road with Journey like a day later. So it was like, yeah, a little fried, but it was great, man. I think I couldn't talk. I had sang 9 days, sung, whatever it was, 9 days straight. So my voice was like, it was great.
So is that something, I mean, I assume you're going to put some space in it, like an album cycle worth of space, like a year or 2, or what's the plan?
Yeah, we're probably end up, this one, hasn't even been released yet. It's coming out soon. So once it's released, I mean, I'm hoping, I'm praying everybody's got some time. We're definitely going to do Europe. I mean, I don't think America really, I hate to say cares, but our kind of stuff just doesn't go over here anymore. So, but Europe, man, they love it. So we're going to do shows over there, no matter what it is, whether it's, like a week's worth of shows and go home for a month and do some festivals or whatever, but we're going to do some shows. And then I would imagine next year that this second, what is it? Revolution Saints 2.0. We'll do the second record, have that one come out. And then I've got to finish the third one. There's a third one coming up now too. That is, we're going to start in August of this year. So we'll have 3 records ready to go, man. We get 1 and then we got 2 more ready to go. So, and then we're hoping like, okay, we don't have to record. We don't have to do anything. Let's go play. Yeah. So that's the beauty of it.
Right.
Yeah, man, it's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you mentioned was the heavier sound, and that kind of jumped out to me, which I thought was unique because when I think of Doug Aldrich and Joe Holkstra, I think Doug's a little bit of a heavier player. So kind of like, how did that come to be? Like, did Joel just naturally do that, or did you guys kind of suggest that route? Or
well, I think that Alessandro Del Vecchio, he's like our 4th member. He's such an integral part of the Revolution Saints sound. And he and Joel were actually writing stuff together, which was really cool. And they had a couple outside writers, a couple guys from Sweden, I believe. And I think that was just the natural thing because, Joel being in Whitesnake, he's just got that thing. Even though Doug was in Whitesnake and could write much heavier stuff, he really wasn't allowed to do much with that because Alessandro, they have that, let's be Journey. Let's sound like Journey. So I don't think he had the freedom that I think he really wanted and could have. He could have shined like a mother on that stuff. But, with Joel, I think Joel just has got that that guitar vibe, and it worked out good to where Alessandro was like, well, let's write together. And they came up with this stuff, and love it. Just love it. So pretty cool. Do you like it, man? What do you think of the record? I mean, I'm interviewing you. What do you think of it?
No, yeah, I love it. That kind of, like you said, it jumped out to me, and I listened to it 2 or 3 times in a row, and it wasn't until the second or third time that it really hit me what you were talking about with your voice. I'm like, yeah, he's singing a little bit different, not different, but just not as, like you said, high pitched, hitting those notes, and and it gave it that kind of more, not that the first 3 albums weren't serious, but more of a serious kind of bigger sound, Yeah.
I hate to say heavier, but it is. It's a little heavier. And, Steve Perry was one of my hugest influences vocally, but I also loved Paul Stanley as a vocalist and Ronnie Dio. Those were my 3 guys, man. So, I loved Ronnie in the early days, with Rainbow and just everything that he did was just so, beautiful melody. He had great sense of melody, but man, he belted. And so I'm kind of like a mishmash of those 3 guys. And, it's nice not to, thank God I can still hit that high stuff, but it's nice to be able to say, well, if we do shows, I'm not going to kill myself every night, right. and wonder, oh God, tonight I don't have it. You know what I mean? Right. Playing drums, I can do that all day long, man. That's my day job. I love that. But this damn thing is fickle. And you know how that could be, man. One day you're killing, the next day it's like, I can't speak. So it's like, I'm not a big fan of being a singer. I love it. But it's like, I'm not disciplined, man. Like Arnell, our singer in Journey, dude, disciplined. Everything is, I do this, I don't do this, I don't do it. I smoke cigarettes and I love Red Bull and I'm, I don't take care of it. So, I just don't like the discipline part of it, but great and thankful that I'm able to get through it,
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking on your voice, like have you been singing your whole life, or is that something you started like 10 years ago, like you said? Because I can't imagine you had that great of a voice just show up, later in life. But
well, it was when I was 11, I was in a band called The Enemy, and I was playing with guys that were 22, 23 years old. I was 11, and they literally brought me Infinity and said, I want you to learn these songs and try and sing it, because they knew I hadn't reached puberty. I had a high voice. They figured, he should be able to pull this off. And so I started listening to Barry. He instantly became my god of vocals. So I started singing lead in that band, and then progressed. And then I joined a metal band called Wild Dogs. So I was just doing backgrounds then. Bad English, just backgrounds, hardline backgrounds, Paul Rogers backgrounds. I wasn't a lead singer until Journey happened. And they were like, well, we need to give Steve Augeri a break, give him a little time. So why don't you sing Mother, Father, Where Were You? Sing some other songs just to give him a breather. And that's when that happened. So I started singing for them. They're like, damn, man, you sound a lot like Barry. I'm like, well, he's my favorite, So that's kind of how that happened. And it's slowly progressed into that. Well, because I always loved his singing. So, and Journey, man, I mean, I wanted to be in 2 bands when I was growing up. Either Kiss or Journey. And thank God it was Journey, because I look like in spandex. I do not look good in spandex. So that worked out really good, man. Really, really good. So that was kind of, I just became a lead singer by happenstance, really. It was just like, well, dude, give him a break, sing something, And that's it's kind of progressed from there.
Like, say you play these shows like you talked about with Rev Saints, like is it weird for you, like standing on stage singing and not playing drums, or like, since you've been doing that the majority of your life,
Well, I like playing behind the drum, singing behind the drum kit, because I got kind of like it's my little fortress.
Yeah.
It's my gun turret kind of. I can hide behind that. I did the frontman thing one time, bro, and that one show we did, and I was scared to death, man. It's frightening, and I've done this. I've said this in interviews. The movie Talladega Nights, right? Where Ricky Bobby's like doing the interview, and I don't know what to do with my hands, bro. And so I'm on stage, and I'm like, what do I do? When we did these videos, first time I've ever been in front doing these videos. So I'm like, oh God, okay, Lord, you're going to have to show me what to do here, because I have no freaking clue what I'm going to do. So, I'm doing my arm things, and it's like, well, he's playing drums, it looks like. I mean, I didn't know what to do. So it's uncomfortable being in front. But I want to learn it. I figure if I don't give that a shot, I'll regret it. I'm going to try, If I look too stupid, I'm sure somebody's going to go, dude, you might want to just, I got to admit though, Paul Stanley, sweetest man in the world. I sent him the video and I said, dude, this is my first time lead singing, being a front man. God help me, and he had amazing suggestions. I'm like, dude, I agree. And he was like, you know what? You're singing powerful. You need a mic stand. You need to hold on to something, man. He goes, I got my guitar, and you're used to playing drums. You got that when you're singing. He goes, this ain't working. So I adore Paul for being honest and giving me that advice. And he was right. It's like, you know what? I need a mic stand. So the next videos we ever do, if we ever do any more, damn it, give me a mic stand. Give me something to hold on to. I'm not going to stand there. Doesn't work, man. Doesn't work. So God bless you, Paul. Thank you for the advice. Yeah. I mean, he's the best frontman on the planet, in my opinion. He is the best frontman on the planet. Nobody touches him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a bad boy.
Right. Well, speaking on, drumming and singing, when you've done these videos, Kyle's the drummer. Is he like who's going to be drummer when you play live, you think? Or is that decided?
I asked him, bro, and that's really cool that you asked about Kyle. Kyle's amazing. The man can do anything. He's far surpassed me. Not only as a drummer, but the man writes songs and sings, plays bass. He plays everything. I think he picked up a guitar and within 6 months was learning the sweeps, the arpeggio. I'm like, how did you do that? He goes, you watch YouTube. I'm like, God, where was YouTube when I was young? You know what I mean? He's just picked this stuff up. I asked him if he would play. He goes, Dad, it's not my thing. I just want to be home and write songs. And so he's writing stuff and sending stuff out. We're hoping he sends some stuff in to his publishing company to present to Liam Gallagher. He loves Oasis. I'm a huge Oasis fan too. And I love Liam. I think he's brilliant. And not only as a person, but what a great vocalist. So he submitted some stuff. Who knows if it'll happen, but he wants to go in that direction. He wants to write, but he likes being home. He did the thing with Wednesday 13 and worked his tail off. I mean, those guys were doing like 8 shows in a row, and he'd have to set up his own stuff. It's like that guy roughed it like I did when I was younger. And he was like, I just don't want, it's just not into me, Dad. I just want to go home and write. And he writes everything. The man goes from brutal death metal riffs to this great Liam Gallagher Oasis type stuff. He's brilliant, songwriter and musician and a sweet kid. He's just such a humble young man. So yeah, I asked him. He said no. No. Doesn't that suck? It's like, buddy, I'd like you, but yeah, Dad, I'm not into it. It's like, oh, thanks, man. So I don't know if it's kind of between two people. Kyle Hughes, who's done the videos, who's a monstrous drummer. I love his playing. It's either going to be Kyle or I was my drum tech, Journey's drum tech, who's been my tech for close to around 15 years now, Steve Toomey, who has been my tech, and he actually learned to play drums sitting behind me and at all these Journey shows. I've done over 1,000 Journey shows, and that's how he learned. So he knows my style. He plays my licks identically. It's like, dang, bro. So I was thinking it's either Kyle or I'm going to get Steve and give Steve a shot. He was the one that played at Frontiers Fest with us and nailed it. He just nailed it with Jack and I and Doug. It was fantastic. So proud of him. First live show with us. And he was as nervous as I was being a front man, and he killed it. So it's good. It's between those two guys. I'll have to sit down with Joel and Jeff and see what they think.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't spoke too much about Jeff. Like, what did he bring to this besides, just great bass playing? Like, did he bring any of his producing knowledge or anything like that to the fold? Or like, I know Alessandro handles that, but
Yeah. Well, Jeff came in and it was kind of like a thing where the song's already done with Joel and Alessandro, and he came in and just brought his bass work. But he's a background singer too. And even though I sang on the record, sing the backgrounds, and as with Alessandro, as well as I think I had a female singing on some stuff as well. I've known Jeff for years, and I know his work with a band called Cinema with Dawkins, of course. And his stuff with Foreigner, because we toured with Foreigner, Journey and Foreigner for many years. And he's the musical director there. And that guy is so knowledgeable. And I can't wait to have him put his stamp. I mean, he's playing amazing bass on the record, but to put his musical, genius into these songs. And that's what this third record's going to be. Not the second one we did, but the third one. We're all going to get together with Alessandro in a room and write. And Jeff's brilliant. He really is. He's more than just the bassist. And, he can sing like a bird and monster producer. He's great. It's going to be fantastic to put his mark on it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And I'm a big Dawkins fan. So, dude, it's cool as hell. I mean, it's very awesome, man. Very awesome.
Well, besides playing shows with these guys throughout the years, did you have any history with Jeff or Joel? Like, playing wise, or was it just straight, just friendship?
Yeah, just being on the road together, Foreigner and Night Ranger. We did a tour of Europe and the States as well. And that's how we got to meet Joel. He was in Night Ranger and he was just tearing it up, doing all the, the Jeff Watson stuff. Just blew my mind. The cool thing, what really impressed me about Joel was Mick. I had to leave the tour. Mick Jones had to leave the tour for a medical reason. They had nobody to replace him. Nobody, they're like, oh God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And Joel, 2 days of learning the entire Foreigner set. And he went up and, put a nail in that cough. He nailed it. And we were like, damn, this kid, not only is he a monster player, but what a professional to come in with no rehearsal. Like, I think a couple sound checks and pulled off an entire 90-minute set and just blew our minds. And I had so much respect for him because he was so humble about it. And he was nervous, but he just, dude, it was unbelievable. And that's the first time I've seen a guy that could come in. Fortunately, I've done that one time, I think, when I was with Paul Rogers. I had to learn songs like that and come in and play with no rehearsal. Like, learned them on a plane and played that night. But he came in and just blew us all away. We were all standing there like, dude, we were all bowing. It was unbelievable. and such a professional about it. So I'd never seen anything like that before. And it was like, dude, it was when I found out that Serafino had picked him and Doug had recommended him, Joel, to be the guitarist, that it was like, oh, dude, this is going to be incredible because he's a freaking wicked player. He's a sweetheart of a guy. That's another big thing. The chemistry with Jack and I and Doug was undeniable. Just brothers and friends, and it was always fun. And with this, it's like we didn't miss a beat, thank God. Because, you might get one guy that's like, got the head this big or, and none of that with this. They both came in and it was like, well, it's like being with Jack and Doug again, great chemistry, great energy. And the playing speaks for Seth, man. Those guys, they're iconic players, for our generation, just amazing players.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I owe those guys $20 each for that, or they owe me something. I'm not sure.
Right.
Friendship dues, man. Friendship dues.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned Steve Perry a few times. Like, is that the comparison to him early on when you're singing? Did that bother you, even though he's like your favorite singer? Did you still kind of want to separate yourself at all, or no? Well,
the only reason I want to separate myself is because, I don't know how long I can pull that off, dude.
Right.
Look at Arnell.
Yeah.
I'm blown away at Arnell at being able to do this for 15 plus years and still hold it together and still stay humble and be the amazing vocalist that he is while running around like a psycho on stage. Dude, yeah. That's crazy stuff. For me, I didn't mind the comparisons, but I knew it's like, oh, dude, I'm not even close. Nobody is close to Perry. I don't care. I can emulate what he does, but he's the originator and no, dude, it's hard for me to hear people go, oh man, you're singing like Perry. It sounds amazing. Sounds a lot like him. I'm like, there's nobody like that guy. We all know that. It's like, it's the originator and the guy that tries to be like him, and I would do anything to have that soul and that kind of phrasing and that kind of, that heart when he sings the passion, bro. Unbelievable. I can copy him. Not perfectly, obviously. I'm not even close, but dang, man, I'm sorry. He can do no wrong in my book. Perry is a God, will always be a God. I would love to work with him someday. I would love to do something with him. I doubt it'll happen, but it would be like, that's on my bucket list,
Right.
Something happens to me, I want to work with that guy, Yeah.
Have you had the opportunity to ever have conversations with him? Because, were you back in the band when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame happened? Or?
I was not in the band at that point.
I didn't think so. Yeah.
That's when I had my issues. But I got to meet him when we got our star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and it was just like, very nice to meet you, Sergio. Very nice to meet you, and that was it.
Okay.
And I just stared at him. I'm a fanboy, so I was just like, wherever he went, Steve Perry. I'm a fanboy. So yeah, I would love to sit down and talk with him, and I hope he doesn't hate me. That's one of the things that got him. He must think, oh, you're just ripping me off, man. You're just a wannabe, and he's right. I am. I want to be him. I'm ripping him off, but I love him. He's so amazing. I'd love to be able to talk to him. He's a god. So it's pretty cool.
Well,
pretty cool.
This is probably a dumb question because I know you're a drummer first and foremost, but between Steve Algeri and Arnell, was there ever any talk about you taking over as the vocalist?
There was talk about it, bro, but I was like, no.
Okay.
I mean, they're like, man, maybe we should get Deen up there. And I'm like, yeah, no. No. And that was way, way early on. That was before they got Arnell. And Jeff was in the band. Jeff Castronovo, another incredible vocalist,
right,
amazing singer. He was doing his duties. And when they let Jeff go, they were like, well, maybe we should have Deen. And I think we all agree. It's like, yeah, that's not my forte, man. It takes a special person to front a band, and you got to have that thing, whatever that is, the charisma or the moxie or whatever they want to call it. Behind the drum set all day long, dude. I can just go crazy, but it's scary. That's why I'm doing it with Revolution Saints. I'm going to try my hand at it, and if I fail, I'm hoping that Jeff and Joel go, nice try, brother, but you know what? Get back there.
right.
Yeah, that was great, but no. So, it was a minute thought and a little bit of talk, but I couldn't do it. I just said, yeah, that's not for me.
I guess you could have always pulled the, Phil Collins or Don Henley type thing, but that's not really a melodic rock style deal with Journey. You want a front man, right?
Dude, and that's exactly right. And that's what I'm so impressed with Arnell. And even Jeff Scott Soto, Steve Jerry, they have that thing. They have that, I'm just a, awkward little kid that plays drums. I mean, that's kind of what I was back then. I was like, just let me play. Yeah, it takes a special person, man. You got to have that vibe, and you got to have that connection with the audience. And I'm scared of big places, big crowds like that. I've always been socially awkward, like this. Talking to you is cool, but to be in front of that many people is daunting, and I wouldn't know what to do. All it would take is one guy going, "You suck," and I'd be like, tail between my legs, go off the stage and just sing behind the drum set again. It's easier there.
Right.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Well, speaking of, playing drums and singing, I mean, I know you've obviously done background vocals your whole career, and you've done Journey songs and stuff. Like, is that when you first started doing that, was it easy to adapt to singing and playing at the same time?
It took a little getting used to. I mean, obviously there's a breathing aspect of it, finding the breath, because not only are you're singing, but you got to have the air to do the licks. And Steve Smith's licks are not easy to do. I mean, he's doing a lot of killer stuff, dude. For rock bands, I mean, if you're going to be in a rock band and you want to have fun as a drummer, that's the band to be in. Journey is the band, because Smith had the coolest drum parts, and it was so effortless for him. So for me, it was like trying to find the air. Okay, when to breathe when I'm going through this lick, and be able to sing this high thing right after that drum lick. So honestly, the drumming took autopilot. I knew the song so well drumming wise that I wasn't even thinking about it. I just knew where to go and knew where to be. It was all about, okay, find the breath. Okay, this is where I need to do it. I need to hit this note and pull up and breathe that out and be able to sing it. So it became, drums were autopilot, and it was all about focusing on breathing and singing the notes. And it took me a little while. It took me, a good month of singing, every show and getting used to it. And then I finally found it. Like when I do Mother, Father, I know exactly when to breathe, when to pull up, when to pull back. And, it would take a long time to do a whole set like that. When we did Journey Through Time, that thing with Greg Raleigh and stuff, yeah. Dude, we had a week of rehearsal, and I had to find the air. Okay, where am I going to sing and where am I going to do this? So it was difficult. It took me a while to get, it's easy to do one or two songs, but to actually do an entire set, playing drums and singing, that takes a lot of work. You really have to find, it's all about the singing and all about the air, because you're projecting something. Drumming just, it's just there.
So it wasn't something where you'd get into a rhythmic, like it wasn't hard to not get into a rhythmic style of singing, because of the drumming?
Being a drummer, that's the beauty of it. Perry was a drummer. And he is a drummer. So, I think being a drummer, it really does help with phrasing. You know where to put it, because you're laying down the beats. You know where the vocals go. You know exactly where they're supposed to be. So I think it was easy for me to just know where to place it. You would hear Steve sing, and you could tell he was listening to the rhythm section. They were bopping to him, and he was bopping to to the drums and like dancing. It was almost like he was dancing with it. And that's kind of what you got to do. You got to have the beat, but you can know, that's the beauty of it. You can phrase backwards and ahead of it and know where to put some vocals, because the drums are all about that. I mean, being a drummer and a singer, Steven Tyler, another drummer singer, you just know where to place it. And I'm still learning that. Obviously, it's, still, I'm a work in progress. So it's going to, it's going to take some time. Those guys have done it for 30, 40 years. I've only been doing it for 10, 15. So, it's new for me. So cut me slack, people. Excuse me.
Well, being, Journey being your favorite band before you're in the band, obviously, as well. Like when you did the Journey in Time stuff, what was that like getting on stage with Greg Grawley for the first time?
Dude, he's an icon, Woodstock, all that. So again, here's Deen, fanboy.
Yeah.
He signed history. I still am in awe of Greg. What a wonderful man. What a great man. But dude, his vocals and his talent, just, playing the earlier stuff was so much fun. I actually like that more than I did doing the stuff when Perry was in the band playing drums, because I could play it and watch Greg sing and the way he plays things, and the songs are so cool. And we just hit it off. Greg and I hit it off with Neil as well. It was like the triumvirate, it was really cool. So us playing together, it's still an honor to work with him. I'm hoping that maybe Journey Through Time will do some shows. I'm not sure, obviously Journey is the priority, and we're always going to work with that. Maybe do some corporate shows with Journey Through Time. But I loved doing that. It was so humbling to me, to have Greg Raleigh, Woodstock guy, and Neil, just that they were Journey, man. Those guys started that. So to be a part of that was really cool. I'm hoping maybe someday we'll do some shows, but obviously Journey's the priority, and I'm grateful to be here with those guys, man. So grateful.
When you did those shows, like what were some of your favorite songs, like the deep cuts you guys did?
God, I love Mystery Mountain. Of a Lifetime's really cool. It just got a cool vibe with it. I mean, all of those tunes when Greg was singing, The Hustler, Nickel and Dime. There's a lot of cool drum stuff. Ainsley Dunbar, what an incredible drummer. So, and he has a completely different style than Smith. He's very, that old British drumming style, the Mitch Mitchell, that kind of vibe, almost swingy type, Ian Pace, Ainsley, to try and cop his drum stuff. That was another thing. I had to really listen to his stuff and analyze, well, what's he doing there? And it's such a different thing than American drummers or, any other drummer. That British sound, drummer-wise, back then was so killer, because it was a rock thing, but they made it swing, dude. Ian Pace, another, one of those guys, Ian's the king of rock swing. He made that stuff swing, and it felt great, man, So trying to cop Ainsley style, it was so cool. So that older stuff was a challenge for me, It was really cool to try and emulate that vibe, that style, that feel.
So when it comes to Ainsley or Steve Smith, like when you started playing that stuff, did you instantly, like you said, try to emulate their styles, or did you kind of put your own flair on it as well? Or
well, I think, like with Smith, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Smith's parts are perfect. Ainsley's as well. I mean, so what I tried to do was cop their feel. How is he doing that? The ghost notes that Ainsley used. It was like studying that stuff. And for me, it's like I would never try and put my style into it, because the songs were so perfect the way I. So I tried to do them as much as I could, like the records, like they were recorded. I try not to butcher Steve Smith's parts. They're timeless and they're perfect. So for me to put my style, I'll throw some things in here and there, but I stay true to what Steve did, because they're perfect. And I think the fans want that. There's certain drum licks they remember, and they don't stop believing. They want those certain things. So you can't deviate from that. And I wouldn't in any way. They're just perfect parts, Ainsley as well. I wanted to stay true to his style, especially on those songs, because that's what Greg's used to. That's what Neil's used to. And that's what the fans are used to on those songs that Ainsley played on. So that's what I tried to do.
You mentioned Neil Sean a minute ago. Like when it comes to your guys' history, you've been in Journey now for off and on for nearly 25 years, 20 years probably of time. Going back to Bad English, how did you guys first connect to start playing together?
This was cool. I was actually playing with Tony McAlpine. Tony Shredder?
Yeah.
Monster. I was going into rehearsals one day, and I walked into the rehearsal room, and Tony hadn't gotten there yet. And it was Neil and Mark Robertson, Tony's keyboardist, and they were just screwing around, right? And I walked in, and of course I'm in shock. I walked in like, Neil Sean. I'm freaking out inside. Just go, oh my God. So I get behind the drum kit, and he goes, well, let's just jam. So we started jamming. Neil started doing riffs, and we started playing, just having fun. And he goes, well, what about this riff? What would you do with this? And I play something, and he's like, man, that's great. And he goes, do you know the Journey stuff? I said, oh, bro, do I know the Journey stuff? I know every Journey song. So we started playing Journey stuff, and we kind of finished up. I shook his hand, and he walked out. And I'm sitting there with my tech freaking the hell out. Like, God, dude, I just played to him. I'd go on the payphone, call my wife. Oh my God, I jammed with Neil John. I'll call the family. Go back in the rehearsal room. And, 10, 15 minutes later, the door opens. Neil's like, hey, man, come here. And I did, stupid as I looked at my text. He's talking to you or me? He goes, you. I'm like, okay. So I walk out. I get in his Ferrari, which is the coolest thing. Another thing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in a Ferrari, He gets a cassette tape. He plays some songs. He goes, you like this stuff, man? I'm like, great, dude. And he goes, well, I'm going to do a solo record. And he goes, I'd love to have you play on it. I mean, I'd be honored. So, he gives me the cassette, and about a week goes by, and he calls me up. I'm home in Oregon, and he calls me up and goes, hey, man, I'm going to sideline the solo record. I'm going to go down and play with John Waite and John Cain and Ricky Phillips. And they want me to, come and audition, basically, like see how it sounds. He goes, I wouldn't do it unless I brought you down. I'm like, oh my God, bro. So that's how that happened, dude. It brings me down there. I fly down. I'm in this gorgeous suite in this hotel. I'm like, oh my God, I made it, And a bunch of drummers had tried out. They had like 30, 35 guys they had worked with and tried out. I was the last guy they brought in.
Wow.
And they went ahead and said, you know what, we're going to go with this. And it, that was it, dude. That was history. I was in Bad English, and like #1 songs and touring. It was like, oh my God, unbelievable. And I've been with Neil ever since. I mean, he's taken me everywhere, with the exception of my 3 years with Ozzy. He took me everywhere he went, and I owe him everything. I mean, that man, if it wasn't for Mike Varney first getting me into San Francisco to play with Tony, and then Neil finding me, and taking me out of there, I'd have no career. It was Neil. Yeah. Jesus Christ and Neil. You know what I mean? Just very grateful, dude. I owe him everything. I really do. Yeah, I pay him a lot of friendship dues.
Yeah, right. More than $30.
Yeah, definitely, bro. It's definitely more than 30.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely love both those Bad English albums. And I mean, do you have a great, besides obviously what it led to with Neil, like, do you have a great experience, memory of that whole time? I had John Waite on the podcast about a year ago, and I tried to get him to talk about it, and he did a little bit. He was kind of dismissive at all, and
yeah, he wasn't a big fan of it, and he was such an integral part. I mean, he sold that band. That boy's voice sold that band. I mean, the bottom line, the songs were there, but John, man, he made that thing shine. For me, it was all a great memory, dude. I can remember when When I See You Smile was #1, and they presented us with the little #1 plaque, selling 1 million just on When I See You Smile. And then I got my first gold record that night too, where they had a big banquet for us, and I was in tears, man. I calling on the payphone again, calling my mom and dad and going, Dad, I made it. Mom, I made it. I did it. I cannot believe that I did this. So all of it was amazing, dude. It was everything was a first for me. And I think that, John and Neil and John Waite and Ricky, they got a kick out of it because they saw this little kid from Salem, Oregon. Just everything was like, God, and they're probably giggling like, oh, geez, man, look at him. He's just like, kid in the candy store. It was unbelievable, man. Just unbelievable. So I got to give glory to God for that, man. It was an unbelievable time for me. And I'll never forget. I remember everything about that time, dude, everything. the biggest thing in my life, really, career-wise. Pretty amazing.
Throughout this interview, we've mentioned a ton of great, amazing musicians, whether it be bass, guitar, singing, everything. You've played with so many amazing musicians throughout the years. Steve Vai is another one of them. Like, is there anybody that you haven't played with besides Steve Perry that you would absolutely?
Oh, yeah.
Paul Stanley,
obviously. I got Corey Taylor.
Okay.
I'd love to work with Corey someday. I don't know if that'll ever happen. And, I've met him a few times. The sweetest freaking man. And in my opinion, he's a genius. I mean, just the books he's written, the spoken word stuff. I mean, he's a brilliant artist all around. I would give my eye teeth to work with him. Even in his little solo band. I always wanted to be in Stone Sour. I loved Stone Sour. Yeah. Corey Taylor, I'd love to work with Elton John, Paul McCartney, James Taylor. Those are the guys, man. Those are the guys that I'm someday before I die, I would love to do something with all of those guys, if that ever happens. I know, Paul McCartney's an untouchable, Elton untouchable, Corey's, they're all untouchables to me, man, and I'm a fanboy. So those are the guys I would love to work with. But if there was one that's accessible now, I would love to get hold of Corey and say, dude, just let me play drums on a record or a song or something. I'd love to do something with him, Yeah. Or have him guest sing on a Revolution Saints song. I mean, he'd be sick. just sick, you know? So
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah, the guy's like created his own kind of empire pretty much, you know?
He's a badass. I mean, bottom line, the Slipknot stuff was unbelievable. And he's amazing with that. But I loved what he did with Stone Sour and his new solo band. I think the guy's just so well-rounded, and he's got his head on his shoulders. He's got a good, solid head on his shoulders. Feet are on the ground. You know, he hasn't believed the hype. And he's brilliant, in my opinion. He's just brilliant. So if you're watching, Corey, you're listening, dude, let me play. I'll pay you. I'll pay you to play on the song. Whatever it got. Friendship dues.
Well, I got a kind of out of the blue question compared to everything else we've talked about. I've skimmed through your Wikipedia the other day just to see if there's something I didn't know about, and something jumped out at me as I'm a big fan of Fear Factory, and you played drums on Soul Hacker, which is probably my favorite Fear Factory song of the past 15 years.
Oh,
so,
dude!
How did that whole thing come about?
Well, you know, I'd worked with GZR. I was a drummer for GZR, Geezer's band, and Burton was the singer, and that's worked out great. And when it came down to it, Bert, you know, I said, dude, I would love to do a song, but I said, you know, please do something that's not like wailing, ripping fast double bass, because I'm not Gene Hoglan, I'm not Raymond Herrera. I don't have that anymore. I used to, 25 years ago, but I don't have that speed anymore. So I said, if I'm gonna do something, give me something that's got a nice groove that I can just dig into. And they sent me Soul Hacker. I was like, oh, dude, I can do this. And I don't know if Dino programmed the demo drums, but that with the hi-hat thing, I had to go, how in the hell is he doing that? But I figured it out. But I loved the drum beat on that, and I emulated it the best I could. And that was an honor as well, dude, because I loved the Fear Factory records that I listened to, man. Demanufacture was my first introduction to them, and I was in Italy, and I grabbed the record, and I was just instantly sold, just instantly. The riffs and Burton singing, and of course Raymond's drumming was phenomenal. So yeah, huge Fear Factory fan, dude. So that's how that came about. Bert asked me, I did it for nothing. I said, dude, I'll do it. I'll pay for the studio time. I'll do this. Just let me play. And it worked out great. Thank God it's a song that's not too. I couldn't do that. I just can't do that anymore. I'd love to, but my left leg doesn't work like it used to, dude. I'm almost 60, so it's a little harder to do for me now.
Yeah,
I'd have to work a couple months to get that stamina and speed up. It comes in bursts. I'm like, that's about it. It's like, oh, I'm tired. I don't think I can do that. I'll do maybe a verse, and that's it. Just loop it, guys. Just loop it.
Yeah. Yeah, Gene Hoglan's just like a freaking machine. It's like, how does he even do something?
Dude, I'll tell you, Joey Jordison, those guys, may he rest in peace. I love Joey. What a sweet guy. But Gene, man, he's taking it to the next level. All those guys, man, just amazing. Dave Lombardo was a pioneer, and I'm a huge fan of his as well. Those guys, back when I could play fast, when Slayer was first coming out, we did some shows when I was in Wild Dogs playing with Slayer, and I'd watch Dave and just go, damn, man, those feet. I just wanted to cut them off and put them on my own. He's just amazing, fast. And so, those kind of players are just, they've taken the metal to the next level. They really have. I mean, those guys, I love Joey, because Joey reminded me of like a metal version of Neil Peart, Steve Smith, Bosie, all wrapped into one and in a metal package. Joey could do anything. And Gene's like that too. I love his intricate, the double bass stuff he does, but he does some really cool, intricate, handwork as well. He's a monster, dude. Way out of my league, dude. I've been playing Don't Stop Believing for 20 years,
Yeah.
That stuff, it would take me a while to get back to that speed, that level, but those are great. Those are, they've taken it to the next level, man. You really have amazing players. Yeah.
You mentioned a minute ago GZR, and I really loved those two albums, and I kind of wish that had a little more, legs to it, something else, went on from it. And I remember GZR actually had a show in Tulsa, and it ended up getting canceled, I think, or something happened to someone in the band. I can't remember whoever was opening ended up playing headlining, but.
What was that a recent thing or way back when they first started?
Yeah, in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I was in the band, because we did shows. Excuse me. We were opening. Korn was opening for Ozzy, and I had just gotten canned from Ozzy, and Geezer was still on the road with Ozzy at the time. Korn was opening. So GZR were doing shows with Korn on their days off. They would go do club gigs, right? Along with being on the road with Ozzy, and GZR would open up, and that's how I got to meet, Head and Monkey and all those guys, and Fieldy, and it was great. We did shows with them. It was unbelievable, dude. That was so much fun. I think we did maybe a month with them, I think, doing those little club gigs, but God, it was so much fun, dude. It was so much fun. And I remember we were we were doing the second record, and we had to get, Burton was torn. He was like, dude, I don't know what to do here. They're just, Fear Factory's just starting to happen. That was just before Obsolete came out, I think. And that's the one that went gold. That's when they started blowing up. He's like, I can't leave that band. I can't leave. That's my baby. I'm like, dude, follow your bliss. Do what's best for you. I mean, we wanted to do GZR and we wanted him to be in it. And it's just like, it would have been wrong to say, no, you need to stay with us. Screw, Fear Factory. Thank God he didn't. Thank God he made that choice to go, you know what? I'm staying here. Because it paid off for him. It really did. And me at that time, after GZR, I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just like, what's going to happen? And I got the offer to go play with Vasco Rossi in Italy, which was the greatest gig ever for me, man. Most amazing. I was ready to quit after getting fired from Oz. I was going to quit. I was so disappointed, so depressed, and so saddened. I mean, once you're an Ozzy band, you're at the pinnacle. You get shit canned, pardon my language. And, it's like, I might as well give it up. I'll never get another gig. I didn't see the big picture. So I went to Italy for a year and worked with that guy, Vasco Rossi, and did everything in my power not to do that gig. Asked for an exorbitant amount of money so they wouldn't choose me. But they wanted me so bad. I said, well, I want 10 grand a week. I want to be flown first class. Just made unbelievably diva demands because I knew they'd be, oh, no, we can't do that. But they did it. They took it. I'm like, shoot, now I got to go do it. So I went and did it. It was the best gig I've ever done, dude. Next to Journey, the best gig I've ever done. And that was right after that, within a year after playing with Vasco for those, I think it was a year, 2.5 years I played with Vasco. And then Neil called and said, look, we're doing Journey and Steve has decided not to be there. Steve Smith isn't going to do it. If you still want to do it. I'm like, are you kidding? I get to play with you again. Yes, dude, let's go. So, and, rest is history. Here I am, thank God. Thank you, Jesus. Still doing it, very cool thing.
Well, that
Very
first show with Journey, and that was like 98, right? When you started with Journey? Like,
yeah.
With that first show getting on stage, was that like a fanboy moment as well?
Dude, not only that, it was called the Friends and Family Show. And like Steve Smith was there. And all the Journey alumni, all the crew people, everybody that had been involved in Journey, Herbie and all those guys. Steve wasn't there, Steve Perry, but Steve Smith was there. And I was so scared, bro. When I got that gig, they first said we're going to do it, I said, can I come to your house, Steve? Can you show me? I still don't know how to do Don't Stop Believing. I'm thinking it's like this, I didn't know, I didn't realize it was open-handed. And they didn't have YouTube back then, 98, there was no YouTube. So I'm like, so I went to his house and he was gracious enough and kind enough to show me the parts that I wanted to hone in. There was a few songs that I want to make sure, one was, what's that? Frontiers was one. And I was like, what are you doing? He showed me. And he's like, he would slow it down and show me. Don't Stop Believing. Again, it's like, there's 3 different patterns here, Dean. So, and you're doing it open-handed. I had to learn how to do open-handed because I'd never played open-handed before. Where the hi-hat's going on with the left hand and you're, doing all that stuff there. I thought it was like, that's how I thought he was doing it. I had no idea. So he had to show me. Then the best part is, after I learned the songs that I needed to hone in on, he started just playing. We were like jamming and he wiped the floor up with me. It was so amazing, man. I'm like, how do you do that, man? What are you doing? He was trying to show me the Fred Gruber stuff that he had learned. Some of the cymbal work where he almost like a figure 8. I'm like, dude, I don't know. Just go slow. And I was like, I'm ADHD, dude. So I was very impatient. Like, just slow it down, really slow, Steve. And he's like, trying to show me. He was so patient. I was like, no, dude, you're on a different planet. I can't do that stuff. He's a god to me. He is too. He is, in my opinion, and it's definitely, nobody can dispute this. I don't care. They can try. Smith is the best overall, all-around drummer on this planet. He can play anything. Not anything, dude. Oh, I'll play a metal song, or I'll do, anything. He's the best player, and he's my biggest influence. Even though I don't really, like, outside of Journey, I don't really play like him. I can't do the stuff he does. I can't. I'm a rock drummer. I'm a product of the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. I'm a rock guy. But he can play anything, dude. He's a god to me. And he's become a dear friend and a brother, and I love him. I'll love him to the day I die. And I call him up. We call and talk about drums, and he sends me his new Vital Information stuff. I'm actually picking it up. I think it's coming out May 8th, so anybody needs to buy the new Vital Information. It's unbelievable. It's going to be great. Anything Steve does is great, so buy it.
Right.
He owes me $20 now.
Right. You're gonna end up making a lot of money after this one. Yeah.
Maybe I can go to the movies by myself.
Right. Well, you returned to singing, in the studio for Journey this past year with Afterglow. Was that, after a couple albums of not having a song, like, was that something that you brought up, or did Neil bring that up, or how did that come to be?
Dude, this is awesome. Good story here. It was my birthday. I was turning 57. I think it was 57. Yeah, I'm 58 now. Yeah, I was 57. Neil calls me in the morning. He's like, dude, I need you to do some backgrounds on this song. It's going to be on the Journey records. You're going to be on the Journey records singing, because I want you to do backgrounds on the song called Afterglow. Can you get a studio? So I literally called up my buddy at the studio and said, dude, I need to do this song for Neil. And can we Zoom it? Do a Zoom thing, have the camera up so I can see him and he can see me. He goes, well, I got a session. I go, dude, this is for Journey. It's a Journey record. He goes, okay, I'll cancel those guys. Tell them something happened. I said, good idea. So I drove up there and I did all the backgrounds. There's like 3 vocal parts, stacked. A high one, a mid one, and a low one. And I did all 3 stacked 3 different times. So all the backgrounds are me singing backgrounds, all that together forever, all of that is me. And then he goes, you know what, dude? Just for the hell of it, why don't you do a lead vocal? Here's the lyrics. Just do a lead vocal for the fun of it. I don't know if it'll make the record. I have to ask Arnell and John if it's okay, but just do one. And I did it, and Neil guided me and through the whole thing. This is what I want you to sing. Sing this, sing it like this, and do this part like this. I did the whole thing. It took me about, 2 or 3 hours, and it came out amazing. And Neil goes, you know what, man? I love this. I think this is going to be good. Let me make sure it's cool with John and Arnell, and we'll just keep it on the record. And thank God I got John and Arnell's blessing, and they put it on the record. I'm really proud of it. It's very raw. They didn't do a lot of fixing. So I hear stuff and go, oh God, I could have done that better. I'm really critical of me singing anyway. So, but Neil's like, nah, dude, we didn't fix anything. It's raw. It sounds like you just going in and singing. It sounds great. So there's some stuff that's out of tune, a little funky, but I'm really proud of it, because it was, that was my birthday present. Here, dude, you're on a Journey record. Happy birthday. It was freaking awesome. Yeah. So yeah, that was, my wife, Dee, my girl right now, she's like, my wife, she was like, well, it's your birthday. Do you really want to work on your birthday? I'm like, Journey's on. Yeah. I'm going to be on the record. I think it's going to be amazing. Yeah. So, I love it. I know Freedom didn't get the traction it deserved. A lot of people have just dismissed it. The record label kind of dropped the ball, it seems like. But, dude, there's some songs on there. I don't know if you've heard the record. There's some stuff on there that's unbelievable. Really great stuff. And Narda, what an amazing drummer. Another iconic monster freaking player. Playing with him and being able to do some shows with him and then having him produce it. Randy Jackson on bass, come on. I mean, that was the greatest birthday present ever, bro. Come on. It was unbelievable. Yeah. So I'm like, it's okay, honey. We'll go do something tomorrow. Let's go hang out tomorrow for my birthday. But today, it's Journey Day. Right. So it worked out good, man. Thank God for Neil for giving me a chance, and Arnell and John for allowing it. Very cool. Very cool, man.
Well, with these 50th anniversary shows going on, and like you said, maybe hopefully some Revolution Saints shows later in the year, is there anything else we can expect from you throughout this year, or is that going to keep you pretty busy?
That's going to keep me busy, dude. I think for me, the less I have on my plate, working on sobriety and recovery and stuff, it's important that I keep the plate pretty clean, pretty open. Yeah. If I get too much, I get overwhelmed, and then, it's, oh man, a drink, or, do this. And so for me, it's like, I want to keep busy, but I got to keep it. I think 3 projects right now is enough. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think I'm doing good with just those 3. It's really important for me now, after I got, clean and started, working on my spirituality more and being a better human being and working with Jesus Christ. For me, it's really important that I stay focused on family, man. Because I when I was using and drinking and being on the road, I gave them no time. It was either, well, I'm on the road, I'm working. I'm off the road, I'm going to party. So, it's like playing catch up now. And my amends now is to make it a living amends. I'm going to give you as much time as I can. And not only my dad of 4 kids, excuse me, I'm a grandfather too, man. So I got 2 grandboys, and so they're taking up my time, and I love it, So when I go home, dude, as much as I can, I leave my drums. I don't bring my work home with me unless it's something, okay, we're getting ready for a show, or we're getting ready for this, or I'm doing a record. But like, I don't go home and practice a lot. I sit down and play a little bit, but I got to focus on my family, man, because I abandoned them. I neglected them for a long, long time. So it's all about going home. Family is it, bro. Family. And my dogs. I got 2 awesome dogs. So 2 little Frenchies. They're freaking rockers, man. I love them. So, I'm just, that's it, dude. I'm a family guy. I just stay home. I don't go to clubs, and I don't, hang out in places and stay in my hometown. I stay low. I really lay low, and funny thing is when all my stuff happened, I found out who my friends really were. And a lot of those people, 90% of the people that were in that town that were hanging out with Deen and drummer for Journey, like, disappeared. So I realized, you know what? I don't need the fake adulation, the fake, the trophy rock stars with me. And I just, it's all about family now. And because I know that at the end of the day, when crap hits the fan and things are at their worst, they were the ones that stuck it out. They were the ones that said, you know what? We know this isn't you. This is you on drugs, dude. Bad news. You need to wake up. So they're my constants. And they're going to be there all the time. So I give them all my time when I'm at home, man. I've had enough of the fakeness and the leeches and with the drummer for Journey. That was my name for years, dude. Hey, this is the drummer for Journey. I'm like, my name is Deen, and that was my identity for so many years, dude. And so for me to go to treatment and realize, you know what, when people ask, aren't you the drummer for Journey? It's like, no, I'm not. I'm not in that band anymore. That was a big step for me because it was all about that. That was, the bravado and partying. And I realized, that's not who I am. That's my job. That's how I make a living. That's how I'm going to get my son through college. That's how I love doing it, but it's not me. So for that to happen was a huge thing. So now it's just Deen family, man. I do stuff with family. Don't have a lot of friends at home, because they weren't friends. I found that out the hard way, man. The hard way. The funny thing is when I got back into Journey, they all came back. It was like somebody turned the switch on. I'm like, you know what? I love you. God bless you, but I'm staying on. No, that ain't going to happen again. I learned my lesson. So very cool. Sorry about that. Went off on a tangent there, but yeah, it's all about family now. Dude. It's all family.
No, that's great. Yeah. I'm so glad to hear you've turned it around and that you're back in Journey now. And I'm absolutely loving the Revolution Saints new album. And I appreciate, you taking the time with me today. This has been great.
Dude, you know what? Keep my number. You can get it from John, but keep my number when we come into town again. I mean, I know we're going to be back here next year. Off the record, I can tell you who we're going to be touring with. This is going to be unbelievable. I can't say it here, but okay. Yeah, dude, you got it. It's going to be a stadium tour, and it's going to be unbelievable. And I will hook you up next time, man. If I known you were in Tulsa, dude, I would have brought you and the whole family. Because, like I said, I got a nephew in Tulsa, and that's it. And he couldn't come because of the tornadoes and high winds that were going on around there. It was pretty. I heard you had some pretty rough stuff, huh? Yeah,
it wasn't as bad as like Arkansas and everywhere east of here, but it was. Yeah, it got pretty windy there.
Yeah, my nephew said that he works on some docks out there. He's a construction guy, and he works on the docks on some river or lake or something. I'm not sure where it is in Tulsa. But he said, man, the damage was pretty severe, and he couldn't make the gig. So his wife came to the show with a couple of her friends instead. But those are the only people I know in Tulsa. So, dude, you got to hook me up. I'll hook you up, Trent.
I appreciate that.
You got it, me, man. You got kids? You got family?
No, I'm divorced and no kids.
Hey, that's still a good thing too, man. It's not a bad thing.
But I've got a great family and a lot of friends, so not complaining.
That's not a bad thing. And look what you get to do, man. What a cool thing to do for a living. I get to interview rock stars and people that play music. What a great cool, that's a good gig. Yeah, could be worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely, man.
There you go, Deen Castronovo, A Journey and Revolution Saints. A huge thank you to John Freeman of Freeman Promotions for his continued support of this podcast. And a massive thank you to Deen Castronovo for hitting me up there on Zoom and talking about all kinds of stuff there for nearly an hour. Great conversation, fun time. Absolutely honored to be able to talk to Deen about everything you heard us talk about there. All over the place. From James Taylor to Fear Factory. That's what I love about Deen is that, I assume, he's a fan of metal because he's played some metal. He's mentioned some in there. He's a fan of Corey Taylor. So, in the same sense that I appreciate the fact when people love super heavy stuff, but then also love super melodic stuff, and then love, your stuff like James Taylor and Elton John, some of the all-time classics. You gotta love music for music. If it's great, it's great. And I can't think you can find many people that fit that bill of great more than Deen Castronovo. So, very, very cool. Very happy to talk about all that stuff we did. Hoping that we can see some Revolution Saints shows later this year like you talked about, and maybe more going into the future, because Jeff Pilson, like you mentioned, has been the band leader of Foreigner for several years now. And Foreigner is on what they are calling their final tour. Everybody talked about that recently with a couple other bands. But not going to go into that. Everybody says that. But Foreigner, I kind of believe it might be true because, they're at the point now where they're touring without any original members. Mick Jones comes and goes. He stepped away because, he had some health issues, but he gets the chance to show up and play a show here or there. So they still have, the founding guitarist and writer with Mick. What I'm trying to get at is with that should open up Jeff's schedule a bit. He still does tons of stuff on the production side of things, but hopefully that'll lead to the chance that we can get more Revolution Saints shows in the years to come. And as you just heard there, Deen said they've already got a second album with this lineup in the can to probably drop next year, and they've already got a third one written and ready to record. I mean, that's just unbelievable. And the fact that they do this stuff and it doesn't sound like filler, that it's just the tagline here for Thunder Underground that me and Jason used to always say was hashtag all killer, no filler. And Revolution Saints have now released 4 albums. Well, they've released 3. They're about to release the 4th that are all killer, no filler. They've done it with the help of Alessandro Del Vecchio. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. And he's someone I've talked about on this podcast many times because we've interviewed a lot of artists that are on Frontiers Records, and Alessandro produces most of those albums, and he's a co-writer on a lot of them as well. And he plays keyboards on a lot of them as well, and he's got his own work that he does. This guy is fucking phenomenal. I've never actually went and looked at like his Wikipedia or his credits or on anything, just to see everything that he's ever done, but just knowing the things he's done in the past 5 to 10 years is astonishing to me, because it's not just like someone that's out there, I'm continually working just to work. He's continually doing it and doing it at a high level, and I guess it helps when you surround yourself with guys like, Deen Castronovo or Joel Hoekstra or Doug Aldrich or Jeff Pilson or any of the countless other bands he's worked with, Iconic being one of them that Joel Hoekstra is also a part of, which I got the chance to talk to Nathan James from Iconic last year. And speaking of that, if this is your first time listening, I am greatly appreciated. We've talked to many artists throughout the years. If you've missed everything prior to this episode, you got 374 episodes you can check out. One of which, like I said, being John Waite, the vocalist. Longtime solo artist, but he was the vocalist for Bad English with Deen and Neil Schon and Jonathan Cain. Also had on Vivian Campbell from Def Leppard and Dio. Had on Gene Simmons of Kiss, Bruce Kulick formerly of Kiss. Several guys from Megadeth, including their current bassist, James Lomenzo, and their founding bassist, David Elfson, has been on here a couple times. Frank Cannon of Tesla has been on here 4 times. Damon Johnson of Brother Kane, Thin Lizzy, and now Leonard Skinner has been on here 6 times. Brian Wheat of Tesla, Joey Allen of Warrant, Robert Mason of Warrant and the End Machine, which he's in that band with Jeff Pilson. Just look at all this kind of intertwining thing, all these guys, 6 degrees of rock and roll is pretty easy to do, with a lot of these guys. So, Dizzy Reed of Guns N' Roses, Shooter Jennings, jumping genres there for a second. You want to really jump a genre, Vanilla Ice has been on here before. You want to get a little bit heavier, because, we talked about some heavy stuff there with Deen. We've had on guys from Down, Crowbar, Typo Negative, Helmet, White Zombie, Superjoint, Testament, Death Angel, The Black Dahlia Murder, Dark Tranquility. Huge long list going there. Glenn Hughes, one of the greatest musicians in the history of the world, in my opinion, has been on here. Michael Monroe. R.J. Hill from Hellstorm. Josie Scott from Saliva, the original vocalist from Saliva. And very recently, we had on Greg Upchurch, the drummer for Three Doors Down. I could go on. A couple guys from Killswitch Engage have been on here. You know, the list is long. Like I said, 374 episodes. If I want to list everybody, it would take us 30 minutes. So I'm going to stop right now and tell you to check that stuff out. And as far as future episodes, next week, Phil Lewis of LA Guns is returning to the podcast. He's been on here before with Tracy Guns. He's going to be on here by himself this time. We're going to talk about LA Guns' brand new album and a bunch of other stuff with Phil. Such a class act, such a great dude to talk to. He's one of those musicians that you always hear positive things about from fans and from people that interview him or talk to him. Just one of those great dudes of rock and roll, however else you want to put it. You know, fine people that you get the pleasure to talk to throughout the years. So look forward to that. I've also got an episode coming up with Jason returning. This will be his 4th time, I believe, returning. Am I thinking right? Yeah, 4th time returning, and we're doing a tribute to Gary Rossington of Lynyrd Skynyrd, who passed away earlier in March. So that episode will be coming up here in a couple weeks. Got some other stuff in the works, but there you go. Follow us on the socials, on all the socials. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find links to them on the website, thethunderunderground.com. You can also listen to the podcast directly there on the player, or you can listen to it pretty much anywhere podcasts are heard, like Spotify, Apple Music, Mixcloud, SoundCloud. The list is long. Just Google Thunder Underground Podcast and it'll be right there. Speaking of Ozzy, with Deen Castronovo, this just now popped in my head as I'm speaking. I don't know why this didn't come up. This is totally baffling me as I'm thinking out loud. Deen Castronovo, as we've talked about throughout the years, me and Jason talked about a few times, and a couple other times when people ask, the name Thunder Underground was just a name we thought was cool because it was the name of an Ozzy song on Osmosis that Deen Castronovo played on. So there you go. Look at this. How cool is that? I don't know why I didn't think of that and bring it up. You know, he brought up Ozzy, working with Ozzy, and I wanted to mention Osmosis, but, you know, we kind of started talking about other stuff, so maybe next time I'll mention the song Thunder Underground that led to the local fanzine that Jason and I started in the mid to late 90s here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which once that died out and we went dormant, then we came back around 2000, I think it was 2012, 2010, 2012, we started doing stuff on Instagram and Facebook, and then about 2015 is when we kicked off the podcast portion of Thunder Underground. And speaking on that, we're just about a little over a month away from the 8th year anniversary of this podcast. Crazy to think about. Just wild. Anyway, with all that being said, I'm going to wrap this up. Once again, a massive thank you to Freeman Promotions, Deen Castronovo himself, Sunset Tattoo Tulsa, Med Farm, and DEB Concerts. And until next time.
I don't know anybody in Tulsa. No, I got nobody, man. That would have been cool. Dang.
Thunder Underground, y'all.